What's going on, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I will be reacting to Kingdom Under Fire, the Crusaders review. This is from MandaloreGaming, another request from Alpha Shocker.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
Never heard of this game. For like 5 seconds after I downloaded it, I wanted to make sure it wasn't, because I've downloaded videos where the video was fucked up for some reason. I had to re-download it. But the game reminds me of Dynasty Warriors. Like, you just look like you're running on the field, just facing wave after wave of enemies with look like your own army attacking as well. Which, huge fan of Dynasty Warriors. I haven't played. Damn, what? It hasn't been like 30 Dynasty Warriors. I recall playing a Dynasty Warriors 6. The first Dynasty Warriors I ever played was Dynasty Warriors 2. And I played that. I think it was 2. Or was it 1? Well, whatever it was, because I played this. It wasn't mine. It was somebody else's game, but we were playing it on my PlayStation 2. And I was in Florida at the time. I was living in Florida, in Buena Vista, Florida, because I was working at Disney World at the time. I was doing that Disney World internship thing, and this was back in 2006. So whichever, because I don't even know if it was the latest one. That's what I'm saying. Because it could, I think it was, pretty sure it was 2. Pretty sure, off the top of my head. But like I said, it wasn't my game, somebody else's game. I said, that looks fun. They were like, do you want to play? Because they wanted to use my system because they didn't have one. I was like, wait a minute. Because no one lived there. Everyone, came from other places. I said, why do you have the game, but you don't have the console to play the game on? Because I brought my console, and I think one of my roommates, because I had 7 other roommates, brought a Super Nintendo, but he never brought that out of his room. And I remember I said, I'll let people play my PlayStation. They want to play it. I kind of like, I'll be nice. And just because I didn't have a TV in my room at the time until my roommate left. And he was like, hey, I'm going to leave this TV here. And I said, all right, well, I'll just leave it for the next person. Because I was like, I'm not taking it with me. And so he just left the TV here. He left the TV there because he bought it there and left it there. And then I used it. That's when I bring my system in. I play it on that. But I always put it back out there so if anyone else wanted to play, like when I was at work or something, they can play it. And almost no one ever really played it unless I was there, which was weird. And I was like, why do you have the game, but you don't have the system? And I remember he said, I just didn't bring my system. Because I don't know if he thought he brought it. He didn't go into great detail. I was just like, did you buy the game here? Was it on sale or something? He's like, well, fuck it, I might as well get it. But how you have the game? He had a bunch of games too, but he didn't have the system, which I thought was odd. But anyway, had a lot of fun with that back in the day. And this looks like that. But like I said, never heard of this game. So anyway, let's see what MandaloreGaming has to say about it. Oh, this feels weird on my head. Oh, I was editing earlier. In a Blank Man movie reaction. And I had my headphones on weird. Because I was trying to listen out I had somebody coming over. I was trying to listen out for the doorbell. So I had it like one off my ear. But anyway, here we go.
It's the...
Fuck. Excuse the fuck out of me.
Out there who thought this game was a dream.
Shit.
Kingdom Under Fire: The Crusaders is a tactical RTS action hack and slash RPG.
Kind of look like
that was
Lord of the Rings right
in
there.
2004. Then 16 years later, it got an official PC port. Better late than never, huh? This is a very basic port because, yeah, you can technically play with mouse and keyboard now, but that's like saying technically you can skip work if you light yourself on fire. I mean, you could,
What?
but this is a game you play with a controller. The only fancy new visuals are that you can turn up your shadow resolution.
I hope I'm not
By
getting
just starting a
hiccups.
game, you are treated to a huge amount of lore. That's because Crusaders is a sequel. So while I'd wager most people know this game and Heroes, I'm going to go over the weird road this franchise has taken. In 2001, we've got Kingdom Under Fire: A War of Heroes. It didn't
Gold.
sell well in the West, but did very good in Korea. That could be because this game and the entire franchise is Korean. What's clear is that A War of Heroes desperately
makes
wanted to be
sense.
a Blizzard game. It tried to combine both Warcraft and Diablo, and it wasn't so good at that. It also started with a huge lore dump, and combining
shit.
the mistranslations and weird writing, a lot of finer details will become borderline incomprehensible. The Shrek storybook in Crusaders does cover the big point. There was a war between good and evil, and a mysterious relic called the Ancient Heart. If you see the heart, or touch the heart, or think about the heart, you turn evil. How the fuck do you beat that?
Wait, what?
Apparently the answer is God gets really pissed.
He said, if you touch the heart, is think about the heart, you turn evil. So basically, it's like a SCP where you can't even know it exists. Otherwise, you turn evil. That means if everyone knows about it, they just instantly turn evil. They just think about it. Like, kind of shit is that?
Off and gets rid of it. So where
How
the
did, like
battle
you
of
said, how
heart
do you
smiting
beat
took
that?
place is now known as the Holy Ground. Okay, but a quick side note. The Ancient Heart also resurrected and created this world's version of Sauron. We've had Kmart Sauron, actual
Yeah,
Sauron.
makes
Now
sense.
make way for Baywatch Sauron. The Overlord of the Dark Legion is Rick Blood. Master of the Orcs in Darkness, Rick. The War of Heroes is
that
mainly
good, that
generic
big boy.
fantasy.
They lived together peacefully for many prosperous centuries. Until the day
They live together peacefully for many prosperous
So when the first game
centuries.
is like this, it makes Crusaders so much stranger. You go from a typical old man talking about the Magic Kingdom to I'm desperately trying to find the outhouse at a Metallica cover band venue.
This music. Why is he walking like that?
That's a bold new direction, and as I'll talk about soon, they kind of pulled it off. But we're not done yet. With its mix of strategy and action and constant metal music,
It actually looks
I don't
pretty
think Blizzard
good.
clone
I mean, it
anything
looks
like
like
the War of
an
Heroes.
old
Instead,
PlayStation
it's
2
we believe
game.
the Wagugin will find this hardcore. Also, we're really gunning for the badass seal of approval this year. And maybe the year after, because then they released a follow-up just called Kingdom Under Fire Heroes, which is basically the same game but with some new campaigns and refinements. This one's going to come up again. On 360, they made Kingdom Under Fire Circle of Doom, which removed the RTS elements entirely to make it a hack and slash. This didn't go over well, but you could play as a crying elf girl who could kill enemies with her tears. I have no clue. So for
fuck?
Kingdom Under Fire 2, let's bring back the RTS stuff and make it an MMO.
The damn anime now?
I'm gonna level with you. I have no idea what's going on in the series.
Yeah, what
So if
is
something
happening
weird in
on the
Crusaders
screen?
is explained somewhere else, I probably won't know about it. They tried to sell this as mainly standalone, and we'll see how they did. Going back to the intro, the game's premise looks pretty simple.
Don't believe me? I'll show you. Check out these delves.
Okay, one thing already I noticed that's unrealistic about this, minus the the person that was shooting lightning. It looks like the leader or king or whatever is actually in front. Unrealistic. Doesn't happen. Happened with a few rulers, or I guess you say kings throughout history, but very unlikely because we all know that most kings would not be on the battlefield up front like that because they would most likely be the first ones to die. You would think that whoever hits that person, they like gunning for that person. That's like I've read like different accounts throughout history, different battles. People have like bounties on officers. Like look for those people because you will get a shit ton of money if you kill an officer. Is he black?
Oh, God.
Nope. Too late.
This reeks of the hex.
Gerald, we must go. Essa needs
That's
to
supposed to be
warned.
Barrett or some shit.
Wait! Look!
Is this music actually in the game?
Swing away!
You don't even know who that is.
Just wipe out the enemy, you'll be golden. After the lore dump, you have two campaigns to choose between. The human soldier Gerald, who is basically tutorial man, and Lucy, the dark elf of the Dark Legion. By beating hers, you unlock a hard campaign for each faction. The hard campaigns do expect a lot more out of you compared to the base ones. It is weird that almost half the game is just preparing you for hard. It does try to ease you into the experience, but it almost goes too slowly. Gerald's missions can be so leisurely that they're basically a different
Just
game
walk
from
right
the
through that
Kindles, but I'll get into that in a bit. Visually, Crusaders does some impressive things for an Xbox title. It blows my mind how many characters you can have on screen fighting at once. This was later in the
Yeah, I
console's
was
life
just thinking
cycle, so
that.
they've gotten pretty good at optimizing it, but wow. It does look like the draw
Without
distance was
crashing
improved
or
for PC,
lagging?
but even in the immediate area, it's an intense amount of action. A lot of maps are
Wait,
still
hold
drowning
on.
in fog. It's not as short as something
Did that? Hold
using
up.
it, but wow. It does look like the draw distance was improved for PC, but even in the immediate area, it's an intense.
Is it that monster have a thong on? Like, why? Why does he have a thong on? Or I don't know if it's a he, it could be a she. You know, you can, but still, like, why are you in the battlefield with a thong on? You would think. I don't know what I'm thinking. Like, have armor on or something. Maybe his skin is tough. So I was just like, I just looked up and I was like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, well, you need some vitamin D or something. Your skin is
amount of action.
flamed
A
or
lot of
something,
maps
whatever
are still
that is.
drowning in fog. It's not as short as something like Morrowind, but it's a less detailed world. It basically had to be to make this many characters work. Even with that, there were some times where I thought the fog added mystique to a level. A forest becomes ominous, a giant creature looks like something straight out of the mist.
Yeah, I was
There's
just,
so much
yeah, I was
content
thinking
for
that.
the PC version, but it has its moments. Bad ones too, because the terrain generally is barren, and all the trees and rolled objects don't look nice either and will mainly get in your way. Sometimes there are more filled in areas,
can't be
but the biggest
perfect.
battles will never be here. The more a map looks like the Gobi Desert, the better chance you have of getting a big fight. The units themselves are good models for an RTS
Looks
game.
good.
All of the officers and named characters also get some extra
I
detail.
don't know how the
Ironically,
gameplay
it's
actually.
the cutscenes where the weaknesses really show up because they put the camera right in their faces, while they're just doing their flap breathing animation thing. They can look like nightmare people, which I don't think was the intention. Still, there is some unique art direction to be found. For once, the Forces of Good got most of the varied and more interesting designs. The Dark Legion mostly has similar flavors of orc. There's green, greener, undead. The Dark Elves don't have much variation.
He gonna say
either,
green is.
which, you know, I give him a pass. The true big issue is the camera. It was mainly a huge issue in Gerald's campaign, but that could be because his had the most trees in it. The angles you can have depend on where you are in the map, so even adjusting it, you can still be blocked off. Sometimes the camera wants to be in the stratosphere. Sometimes it wants to dig for worms. Usually it's fine and you don't need to adjust it too much, but it adds randomness and unpredictability in sometimes crucial moments. Sometimes you walk through the woods fine, sometimes you can't see. That said, it's really the sound that stuck out to me.
Sometimes you can play the
With the
game,
exception of the
sometimes
main
you
menu,
can't.
Every single song in the game is metal.
Sometimes you feel
I
like a
can't
nut,
stress enough
sometimes
how
you don't.
constant it is. Hearing about the story, mission briefings, the missions, all metal.
Okay, this is actually in the game. I don't get like a copyright claim for this shit.
Concentrate on destroying their barricades.
Somebody grew up an edgy teen
The rear line will
into an
attack
edgy
the enemy
adult.
forces and give cover to the sappers and catapults.
I mean, during this music during the combat parts is fine, but like during like you like using options and it's still rock music. It seems it's like they was just put as much rock in this as you possibly can. Like anyone who sounds remotely like Metallica, they put it in there.
Now, I'm not a huge metalhead, and I don't know how accurate I can be here. The game does have a lot of music I liked. They were not shy about the soundtrack. They go so big with it that I'm actually shocked there were no songs with lyrics in them. It wouldn't be out of
Oh,
place.
really? I wonder, did they make all this music themselves?
Move! This way!
Don't have a lot of armor on, but they are extremely mobile and distracting to their mostly, I guess, male army or all male army enemies that they're facing.
Stay calm and take down that brute. Don't be afraid.
Okay,
There are times when it does
interesting.
chill out, but it's not that often. Subjectively, sure, I wouldn't listen to heavy metal back-to-back for hours on end, but this could be someone's dream game in that regard. The issue is the rest of the
I
sound.
like metal, but not that much.
For the Xbox, this game has some really fucked up audio compression. Even after fiddling with audio sliders, the mixing is just terrible. But the worst part is when a fight is over.
Good. We're done.
Good. You're done.
Oh my god, it's fucking Lego!
Super troop unit, and if you lose in a fight like this, oh my god.
Whoa.
If your waveform becomes a solid wall, it's time to fucking start over again. To add an
Holy
extra layer
shit.
of madness, it's
Glad I
really a
turned that
sun-times
down.
deal. The actual battle soundscape is perfectly fine. There can be low quality effects that stick out as being bad, but they're not grating. Even the victory cheers will often sound normal. How it's layered is still bad, but you're not expecting an attack.
That's one thing about games like this where it's hard to tell what the fuck is going on. Like I said, with Dynasty Warriors was a fun game to me. It was easier for me to tell. I don't know why. Maybe because from what I can remember, I haven't played that game. Like I said, I think I played 6, but the only one I can really remember playing at the most was 2. And that game, if I remember correctly, your character seemed to be bigger than everybody else. So well, I guess kind of like what they're doing here, but it was also way more colorful. So I could tell myself apart from everybody else and my allies from the enemy. And it was, plus you were doing a bunch of like magical shit as well that was very colorful. But this, everything looks almost the same, and it's hard to tell. Like, unless your character's like right up front, I couldn't. When they were surrounded in some of these shots that he has, like I couldn't tell what the fuck is going on. Maybe I'm getting old.
So the issue is you have constant, pretty average to subpar battle sounds.
Like I did just
combined with
turn
an occasional
35.
nuclear strike in your ears, and the whole time, metal music is playing.
Okay, I'll probably
The
turn
music
that
does
shit
come
off
together
after a
with the
while.
action sometimes, and it's very cathartic. But the game is such a noise hurricane, I can only play it in bursts. Oh right, the voice acting.
Look at the sun. If there truly is a God, he is on our side today. Now this will be the last briefing for today's mission, so listen well.
Have you ever seen hogs do anything right the first time? Ever? Now see to it! What did you do in the war? I babysat pigs, that's what. This sucks.
Gerald, I object to leaving our border post to attend mass at Youngsburg.
Well, it's orders, and we live to serve.
At first I thought that was
Kind of sound like a
glitch, but
mobile game.
No.
Insulting them is insulting God.
The Crusaders would leave to the holy ground, and the people
Why is
They're
it blocking
censoring
out
the word
page?
Pope by just cutting the audio. What? He's a major player too, so this is bizarre.
Yeah, that was
It doesn't
weird.
explain why you can't turn off the subtitles or else you'd miss part of the story. Characters will also say capital G God, but the captions change it to the God lowercase. It'll mess up sentence structure too, like someone had just used Control F for the script. This is clearly some last minute censorship. And for everything people could get on the Catholic Church for, just mentioning the Pope, maybe a few hundred years ago in some select cities, but not in 2004. South Korea did and still does have a significant Christian population there, so I thought maybe they were pushing the boundary of some kind of local law, but no.
No
From
religious
what I found,
affiliation.
at the last second the developers were terrified that including the Pope would offend Westerners. You can't exactly remove him from the story at this
What?
point when he's so
Really?
integral. So they clipped all audio mentioning him, and in subtitles he's just the
Why would they
patriarch.
think that would offend
Boy, if only they knew
Westerners?
where things would be so soon. Anyway, the PC release also included the option for the original Korean voice acting, which seems way better technically and delivery-wise.
For this we have been bled white. Soldiers, behold the holy ground.
What is this music?
제군들 보라, 드디어 성지다.
Still, I don't want to be getting into the story just yet. Despite all of its many, many faults, the gameplay is worth talking about. By using your right stick, you control the direction and the range your troops move in. By holding a shoulder button, you can expand the minimap and move your forces that way. You can move all your forces at once or cycle through them for individual orders. There is a learning curve to this, and it does explain the
Interesting.
slowness of Gerald's campaign. Despite first impressions, there is a shocking amount of depth. For one, with the triggers, you can change the formations of most units. Putting your soldiers
Really?
in wider formations allows them to move and turn faster. A tight-knit formation can make
Oh,
units
wow.
sneakier
I
and
didn't
harder
think
to
it was
see.
that
If
this
they have
complex.
shields, they're better at covering each other from arrows. Each has benefits and drawbacks, and you can be adjusting these almost as much as you're moving your army. However, not every unit uses these formations. In the case of archers, the triggers control how wide or narrow their shots go. If your enemy's position isn't clear or you're fighting from extreme range, you need to make guesses on how you should be shooting. Or you can send a smaller force or a deployable scout ahead to act as a spotter. Then you can get the exact bombardment width you need. Also take into account the position of your ranged units, where they are relative to the enemy. Is the sun in their eyes? Is anything in their way?
Wow,
There's
really?
a lot
The
of good
sun?
tactical gameplay to be had, and not all
And
units
nothing
can be
was
set to
that
attack and forget.
complex.
With cavalry, you don't want to move them onto the enemy, but instead move through them. They'll barrel through weaker troops and can take out a formation without taking a scratch. You could micro them around for max effectiveness, or set some waypoints in a busy area.
Batman will be awesome
Though
at
again,
this
you've
game.
got to be thinking carefully. Are there anti-cavalry units in the area? Where a good charge can delete a unit,
Or
a bad
Captain
charge
America.
for them can have your own wiped out. So if you're quick and clever enough, you can bait fast movers into spears that they can't turn away from easily. Or in the case of the Dark Legion, the anti-horse throwing axes.
Ooh.
Not everything will add up sometimes.
Damn.
It's fine.
Must have an orc for a tailor.
Again, these are just some maneuvering examples. In battle, you have a resource called SP, which might be special points, I don't think they say. But you earn it through general combat and victories, and gain more by pulling off tactical maneuvers. You can then spend these Sun Tzu points on unit abilities.
That piano in the background, I keep thinking, because first I thought, fuck is that coming from? I thought it was sounds in my house. I was like, what the fuck is that? But it making me think of Dio song. It's like doom 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 doom. That's what I keep thinking is playing.
Human archers can use fire arrows to burn down forests and enemy positions. Contrast with dark elf archers who can make magic arrows for extra damage. Or summon a magic fancy tree of healing.
Elves
because
all
of
only
course they
women?
do that.
Like what?
There are sappers who can place Burmese
Tall,
tiger pits,
attractive
landmines,
women
and other toys from the
with
Vietnam
legs for
gunbogs
days.
to bait enemies into, though they can also go on anti-trap duty themselves. And sometimes units are led by officers who know magic. So sometimes you send out a blizzard or plunge your enemy into darkness. So while all of this is happening, how does the action hack and slash kick-assing fit into it? It's a tricky situation. It's deceptive because at first it seems undercooked and just kind of bad, when instead it's well thought out, but it doesn't show in the first stages of the game. When a unit led by your hero engages the enemy, the game shifts over into action mode. Both squads engage on their own and you can personally run around slapping people. Each campaign only has one controllable hero. Gerald is your basic sword fight man. I can't say anything bad because I make guys just like him in most RPGs.
Sword fight
He hits
man.
with a big sword, blocks with a big sword,
I mean, that's
hates
the
the orcs.
Oh, all this fried.
That's the standard in like any game. Like I mean, even you think of Soul Edge or Soul Blade, you always have a character like this. Hell, any game. I mean, even to a point, Dante is like this. A big guy. I mean, he's kind of played down because he's more down to earth and with a like a humorous side. But he's kind of just a big guy with a big sword, you know. And then they got Nero in there, a big guy with a big sword, and Virgil, basically a big guy with a big sword. It's narrower, but it's still long as fuck. But that's like in every game.
All we need now is some scrambled eggs.
Lucretia of the Dark Legion is all about speed and anime bullshit. She can't block, but she can dodge. She likes bullying her ex-boyfriend.
That's my Lucy.
Don't call me Lucy, you gigolo.
Kendall is a slower powerhouse
Okay.
warrior. He carries a mason halberd and is a loyal servant of the Pope. When he wins fights, he's
I
already
like
the
how
next heretic to smash.
he's censoring
Rainier is the
himself.
Dark Lord of Hexter. He has an evil sword and loves running around in a loincloth in World of Warcraft pauldrons. He parries by using the Force and is rumored to be Rick Blood. Of course he's Rick Blood.
I am Rick Blood.
The characters have different fighting styles, but calling what they have movesets would be generous. You have your light and strong attacks and maybe 2 or 3 unique combos per character. They also have a special execution move that does more damage but costs SP. If the hero's unit has officers in it, they can also spend SP to use the unique officer assist attack. These can be helpful, but they're things you've usually picked out far
Yeah,
before
this
the
is
battle
some
started.
definitely some
You wanna have
anime.
something
Who
like
the
a
fuck
duel
was
with
that?
another unique
Dracula?
character. You can try to find the enemy unit's officer and kill them. If you pull it off, morale shatters and the squad disintegrates. Certain characters are much better at this. Lucy takes a while, Baywatch Sauron can one-shot them. Usually though, half the challenge is finding the leaders since they don't always stand out. They can often look identical to regular soldiers and you can only pick one out when you whack one and a health bar pops up. Summed up, there's not a lot of depth to the action mode, which reasonably you might have been expecting more out of, because the Dynasty Warriors in the room is very focused on pulling off combos and special moves. And first,
Yeah,
looking at
see how your
Crusaders, you might
character looks
expect it to be a
bigger?
Dynasty Warriors clone.
Or maybe
combat
just maybe
here
the
is
camera just
simpler, but
really
it's because
close
the
out.
developers didn't want you stuck too far into it. You still have your troops to cycle back to. Instead of staying completely in the fight, you send out a cavalry charge, or move your archers behind the enemy. Both tactics and pure Unga Bunga hits reward you with SP, which you can use on either. So you could pull off a flank with archers, but then go right back into action mode to pull off an assist move. Crusaders really is about strategy more than anything, and this is reflected by the other side of the game, which is battle preparation. As you win missions, you're awarded with golden experience. Again, this is tied to your SP levels, so the bigger your brain, the more you gain. Your squads all have a level, but it's determined by the leading officer, so experience is spent on them, but really it goes through the whole unit. Which at first seems odd, but there is a good reason for this. As long as a unit has the required skills, it can convert into another one freely. An officer could lead spearmen in one mission, and then use mortars in the next. Your leaders will be specialized for only a few types, but you do have some flexibility. Due to action mode, your campaign hero is always stuck with a melee unit, but for their underlings, you can adjust all kinds of things around.
Really
you can
complex.
focus on a troop type or unlock a magic
Did not expect this.
It's also here you learn that troops are resistant and weak to different damage types. Armored knights get owned by lightning, orcs have an innate weakness to ice, and the undead hate learning about Jesus, which in this setting might be Orc Jesus. I may have missed that part. When you're done with experience, you can use the gold to hire more officers and get more options. How many troops you can deploy is limited, so it's not always ideal. Instead, you're usually buying new equipment, which can have all kinds of bonus effects. These are also level restricted, so there is a balancing act between your skills and your money. Playing your cards right, you can get some absurd min-maxing. Like, what if my hero's unit was virtually immune to melee damage, and was constantly self-healing? If you spend a lot of time in action mode, you could give your heroes something like an elemental weapon. There's a lot to play around with, and to add an extra layer of greatness to the system, the units do physically change based on the upgrades. At first glance, it's easy to see Crusaders as a dumb metal mosh pit, but there's so much behind it.
Yeah, there's a
You'll never be
whole
controlling
lot
a huge
behind
amount of
this.
units, and some,
Sheesh.
like flyers, are controlled through the D-pad like an ability. This causes some drawbacks later on. The hard campaigns give you a ton of freedom, but what's actually viable...
Because I was thinking it was, when I first saw it, like he was saying, just a kind of a dumb hack and slash, but I was thinking more of the lines of Dynasty Wars, where you have one character that you are, and you're the one doing the majority of the damage because you have superpowers. I'm showing you a super soldier. And it's like when you progress and you wipe out a certain amount of enemies in an area, then they're like, oh, now move to this area, you know, it's like that. But this is like, no, you are in charge of an army and you need to strategize in order to advance on the enemy's position. And if you don't know how to fucking do that, you're gonna fucking lose.
...was much more limited. Your enemies are far more reactive, and now they cast spells like Merlin has learned he has only a week to live. Later missions become pure endurance. Where healing magic can be incredibly helpful before, you need it now. If you became reliant on abilities instead of movement and formations, that'll really hurt you in these sections. It expects more clever maneuvering from you here than ever before, which is cool and I like that, but it becomes clear a lot of fun options you had before will melt away.
I see why they take so
Things
long,
can start
like
feeling even more repetitive
teaching
than they were
you
before. If you like the proper
at the
massive
beginning.
battles, there's going to be a lot of them. So that brings me to the story. The overall points are
story?
very simple, but there are finer details I'm not even going to bother to bring up. There's a lot of political details that mainly rely on you knowing about the first game, and other points aren't addressed in this game, but instead in Heroes, which is both a prequel and happening at the same time. So the story isn't all here to begin with. Dark elves are ruled by vampires, but there are high elves who want to rebel, but they use the terms interchangeably.
What?
So Haranadin finally falls under this high elf's feet.
Is this not the first time you're leading an army this large, my dark elf?
And look, I don't give a shit. In the campaign map, you can get some story, manage armor, and
Vampires.
poke at some lore tidbits.
I guess
A lot
I
of
was right with the
information can come
bats
from
and
eavesdropping
shit.
at pubs. Gerald's campaign might have the least information here because the pub is full of people complaining about the elves, or as they call them, the darks.
Boss, darks are coming from the southwest.
Darks,
These
wow.
darks planned this all along. Look what these darks
Racist.
did to our people. You go to bars where generic rock plays and overhear people loudly complaining about darks. This isn't my first rodeo with this. So unfortunate translation aside, that's probably the most interesting thing in Gerald's campaign. He is the most Xbox game
Probably
protagonist who
shouldn't
wants
have
to
done
wipe out
push-ups
the enemy
before
and get
this.
revenge. In
Oh,
retrospect,
shit.
it's neat, but it's a horribly generic first impression for the campaigns. Lucy's campaign is more entertaining, but also for a dumb reason. Instead of their dialogue being, we must wipe out the enemy and defeat the evil, they argue constantly. They try to bring up the elf political situation, but it's basically a joke. It's like the cast of the Jersey Shore is trying to do a table reading of the Council of Rivendell, but there was a party the night before
Wow,
where
that
everyone
would
cheated
be
on everyone, so
hell.
they keep breaking character to yell at each other. They go to meet the Dark Lord of the Orcs, and this is their first reaction.
Rainier has arrived.
Wow. Finally in the flesh.
It's music.
Oh my god, he's ripped!
It does devolve back into dry
What?
politics, but good god, it's something. Kendall is also wipe out the enemy man, but he's
Joan of Arc,
covering
too.
something. His campaign takes a dramatic turn, and I would say the exact same thing about Rick Blood's campaign. Both are fighting for control of the ancient heart, but something doesn't seem right. Also, the orcs in his pub really just want to farm. Sometimes they want to use the enemy as fertilizer, but they really love farming. And not all of them want to eat man flesh. These are weird orcs. Anyway, if you don't want spoilers, go to
You just want to farm. I mean, you
Okay, so
assume
remember
that
the
orcs are
village burning in the
evil.
beginning? That was a false flag attack by other humans. Again, the details are in the next game. The Pope received a vision from God to destroy the ancient heart, but so did someone else, a man named Walter. Walter was going to make a secret alliance with dark elves who didn't like being ruled by vampires to help him find the heart. As you'd expect, this kind of team-up would be very frowned upon, so they had to do it in secret. A nearby villager saw the meeting and ran home. To keep the secret, Walter and his troops would have to slaughter them all. This is the first mission of Walter's campaign in Heroes, and it's pretty brutal. As the war kicks off, Walter does manage to get the heart, but the Pope, for some reason, says that Walter has stolen
Why are you
it. So
killing
Kendall
us? We
uses Kendall to try and
surrender.
hunt him down and retrieve it. Kendall does catch up with Walter, but Walter claims the Pope wants to keep the heart for himself. Why would the Pope not want to break what God told him to? In Rick Blood's campaign, it's revealed that the heart has direct control over him. Whoever has it can directly puppet him, so he's trying to find it for himself to stop this. He breaks away from his own homeland and fights everybody on the way to the heart. He's desperate to control his own destiny. In Gerald's campaign, he's just the big evil bad guy. And in a terrible slow-motion cutscene, Rick rolls one of his friends directly into oblivion. But he doesn't slaughter everyone else. Then, despite the efforts of everyone,
Of course the black
Walter
guy
manages
dies.
to fulfill God's plan and break the heart, giving a pre-rendered cutscene for the first time in the game.
I don't know if he black enough. He just remind me of hold on. Like they have big muscle bound black dude. You know? And they're a nothing character and they get killed at some point. And them arrows went right through that plate armor.
Which god did this vision come from?
The fuck is happening? Uh-oh. It's sucking me in. It just, why? I can just do this to begin with. It could have.
Turns out breaking the heart starts what looks like the Advent. It's kind of amazing. Nothing to this point indicated the game would go to this kind of scale.
Start the
Anyhow, that's when the
apocalypse.
demon swarm begins.
Sheesh. Oh, it didn't even take everybody.
The next missions get different.
No, I thought that was the end of the game. It's like, okay, the apocalypse happened. You lost. Game over.
Your enemy is now an apocalyptic swarm of demons. The world is now threatened by a cosmic horror. The demons will consume all of life and usher in the Age of Darkness. Without the heart, Baywatch Sauron will slowly become mortal and one day die. He's just as horrified as everyone else.
What have the humans done? This is Encaplosa. No.
Rick Blood initiates peace talks with
I say that every morning I
the
get
world
a,
as the
what
threat.
have the
He explains
humans
that there's a god
done
of light and darkness
during
only
my
one can be elected at a
slumber?
time. Whenever the heart deteriorates from the ravages of time, one god awakens and the other goes to sleep. It's actually supposed to be the Age of Darkness, but someone had destroyed the last heart early. So Encablosa, the god of darkness, has successfully tricked his time back. Rick Blood becomes the hero in uniting the world and says things that I would never imagine from this character design.
I want to return the world to the Age of Light.
Really? I thought he
Well,
was
it's the
evil.
first game to pull out the third faction who's a threat to everyone.
look at him.
But it
He's-
does
he's
it in such an
evil. He
interesting
looks
and
evil.
unexpected way. Generic
I base
Xbox
everything
fans
on
and
looks.
heroism are just a pawn for greater schemes. Religion itself is mostly wrong and they're just Lovecraftian elder gods. The immortal Dark Lord figure knows all of this and has been working with it in mind. This story has some fascinating elements, but a lot of execution up until now has been terrible.
Heard you might get promoted soon. Way to go, Lucy.
No thanks to you, dumbass.
While this
Fuck
only
you,
happens at the
bitch.
tail end of the hard campaigns, they both have the most torturous final mission possible. It's the same for each too. pierce the surface of enemy
Elizabeth
with a flying unit, then
Bathory
conduct a
looking
ritual to
ass
get inside
bitch.
of it. The camera has generally been better in the hard campaigns, but now, this is all trees. Swarms of demons packed inside a giant forest during a snowstorm, and the map is laid out like a canyon that you need to snake through. If you pull it off, the mission then begins a second part, which is killing the avatar of the dark god from inside of him. I've gotta say, when I started the game, I did not see things going this way. But Halloween is right around the corner.
Ain't no,
The
you
cave
see that
research mission
shit.
sucks in a lot of
Another thing, not realistic. These fuckers swimming with all that damn armor on. That's it.
ways. It doesn't feel like an ultimate test of your tactics or anything you learned. Inside the Eclipse is slightly better, but it's a slog of a battle up until then. It is fun blowing up demons with artillery, but they managed to make that get old. I should never be tired
should
of
not have
shelling
clipped my
demons.
nose here
When
before
you win,
this
you do
either.
get to see it die and explode, which is satisfying, but the epilogues after that are weak. There are a lot of tidbits here, but out of everything, I mainly recall how many ex-girlfriends got credits. Imagine if every game did that.
Ex-girlfriends.
Crusaders is incredibly ambitious, and especially for an Xbox game. There's a lot of strategic depth to it and many ways to play out missions. It's a full-length game just running through all of them once. It is held back by the camera, general clunkiness, and some atrocious sound at points, but a lot of it might already be addressed in a way. There are 7 campaigns and I'm not far in, but what I've played of Heroes fixed a lot of it. The camera behaves way better with obstacles. The fighting flows a little smoother, and there's no nuclear cheering.
Good work.
It also has custom battles in it, so there's a lot to dig
Oh,
into.
is this the
Both the PC
PC
versions came out
version?
for $20, which is far too expensive for this kind of port.
Mm.
I did ask if they could put it on sale for the video, but I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see. I could recommend Crusaders
I guess
the
that's
same
a
way
no.
you recommend like a really violent B movie. It's violent and silly, and you can't believe some parts they think you'll take seriously. But you can see that this is a cool idea, and you wish they had more time and budget. But maybe that couldn't help as much as you think because this is so different. Even that comparison doesn't feel fair because this is a genuinely tactical game. It's something unique. I'm sure there's a lot of people who picked this up for the first time as a kid or a teenager on Xbox, and for them it was an awesome game. In a lot of ways they were right because the core gameplay holds up. It's just those details that a lot of people take for granted that do hold it back. You know, the idea game won't try to blow up your ears sometimes. That's it for now, but October
They
is
did
coming.
remake
I might
this.
have time to talk about a smaller horror game or two because unfortunately for us all, another adventure game video is in the works. One far darker than the Druids. I'll see you then. Maybe.
Ominous. He's yeah, they okay, I was like, did that the FPS drop again? Cause I noticed in another video I react to, it dropped like crazy. Well, of course I don't know while I'm watching it, 'cause I'm recording the screen. And when I end that and then go back to OBS, and I could see it was like 18 frames a second, something like 18 to 16 or something. I was like, what the fuck? And as soon as when I stopped it, it jumped back up to 30. I was like, that's about a bitch. But yeah, they remake this. I wish I had like just billions of dollars. I would just buy like games like this, like the rights to games like this that look interesting, and hire a team and just like, hey, remake this. Or is people have an idea? Let's see if we can make this. You know, I know I know a lot of people don't want to throw away money on that because they want a sure thing. Because we know that a game studio, even a big one, can't take too many losses. Probably could take maybe 3, and I don't even think they could take that many back to back before they be like, we going out of business. Or they order somebody fucking Xbox in the bottom or Sony in the bottom or some shit, you know. But that was interesting. Like the mechanics, I did not expect it to get that detail. Like even he said the position of the sun. You know, like I've read, you know, different battles, you know, ancient battles where they said, oh, the ground was too wet or something, you know, especially during like when Napoleon tried to conquer Russia and it was too cold and they weren't used to that and they didn't even have any winter type gear. And he waited till winter to try to invade Russia, you know, which is dumb. Like you would think even it's not like a modern day thing. Even then, that would be stupid. Like he invade Russia now in winter. People who live in almost eternal winter. That's like going to somebody. It's like in America when we was in Vietnam. You know, we weren't used to that type of humidity and, you know, mosquitoes and shit like that. We have mosquitoes here in a humid place, but there is a different type of humidity. And you're not used to that. And that can greatly, you know, change the outcome of a battle or even a war, depending on how long you're there. But that was very interesting. Like I like playing games like that that are very complex and take a lot of strategy. It's a kind of it's a large learning curve. The only thing with that is if I stop playing it, I'm less likely to go back into it. Like I mean, The Witcher 3 is nowhere near this complicated, but well, it has that much strategy in it. But when I was playing that, the only thing about The Witcher is just long as fuck. Witcher 3 is long. But when I was playing that and I stopped playing it for a while because I was playing something else. And plus I was working and stuff and schedule change and job change. And it was just, I ain't had time to play it like I was before. And that, I tried to get back into it because I wanted, I was like, because I wanted to record myself, either record me playing it or stream it. I might just do recordings. And I tried to get back into it, starting from where I was at, because I was playing, like I said, I was planning on maybe starting the game over and, you know, recording myself or streaming it. But then I was like, let me just play it one day. I sat down, played it for like 2 hours, and it was easy actually to get back into it. They have the buttons on the screen that do what you get on your mount your horse, ride. You know, it was kind of, even though at that point I think I hadn't played it in over a year, and I just got back on. I've been planning on putting some time aside to play it a little bit. And I finally was okay, I got some time right now. I'll play it. And it was actually pretty simple to get back into it. It was just still thinking like, man, I got so much stuff. Just the story. And in that time period that I hadn't played it, I bought that expansion pack that came out. I was like, was it Blood and Wine or something? I bought that because I was like, I'm gonna play this. And I still have my brother's beating that. Like I remember he told me he beat it. He got the he didn't get The Witcher because I told him about it, and he ended up getting like, I don't know, I think like a year after I got it, because I played it for I think 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and then when I first got it, and stopped playing for over a year, then tried to get back into it. In that time period, he had gotten it. He's beaten the, you know, the regular game and the expansion on top of that. So, but I was just like, oh man, I get to start playing. Then I started thinking how long this was, and I wanted to start over to stream it or record it. Yeah, then I was like, oh man, I got to start over. I mean, I hadn't been, like I said, I was only I think level 17 or something, because you know you can level up the character. I was like level 17, I think, and it's just like I was like, oh my god. Like, I mean, like I said, I wasn't that far into it. It's not like I was 75% done. I don't even think I was 25% done. Probably not even 15. But it's just like I was like, oh, I gotta start this over. I said it'd be the best time to start over because I'm not that far into it. But it's just like when you start again, when you've been playing the game, you gotta start over. You're just like, oh fuck. Even when I played Mafia 3, and twice I've played that fucking game before. I've beaten it since then, but I played that game twice before. The third time I beat it. Got like, I didn't know how far I was into it, but then I saw like from where it is to the end, I was like about maybe 60% into the game. Stop playing it and then play it for a little bit. And then try to get back into it, and I didn't have the timing down. And it's, you know, it's because it's like, you know, playing a game is like building. It's like math. Like you gotta get the basics in order to build when you get to the more difficult stuff, and then you keep going, you know, like that. But if you get you do the basics and you just stop. Or you just say you get to the difficult stuff and then you stop. And then time go by and then you try to jump back into it. You don't know what the fuck you're doing because you don't remember the basics. You know, so now you got to start over again, which is my problem with college. I can't fucking start over again. I keep waiting years to get back. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, but like I said, The Witcher was actually, it was just pretty easy to get back into. And I was worried about the combat, so I'm probably getting my ass whooped by regular people. And no, it was pretty easy to jump back in. It's just like I said, that's just the game is just long. It's really, really long. Apparently, I've read that a lot of people who bought The Witcher haven't beaten it. So is my voice off? It seemed like when I'm talking, like it's a delay. But not in my movement, only in the sound. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You'll be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.